Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. OpenClaw Gateway, Episode 4 of 11. You deploy a new chatbot to your company workspace. Alice asks it to summarize her private meeting notes, and 5 minutes later, it accidentally quotes those notes back to Bob. Your agent just leaked data because it treats everyone in the workspace as the exact same person. Fixing this requires understanding session management and DM isolation. Before fixing the overlap, we need to address a common misconception. Engineers often confuse session keys with authentication tokens. They are not the same thing. Session keys are not security barriers. They are simply routing selectors. They tell the OpenClaw system which block of conversation history to pull from the database and inject into the prompt. If you need to restrict who can talk to your agent, you use proper authentication. Session keys just keep the text separated. Every interaction with an OpenClaw agent happens inside a session. The session holds the conversation history and the active short-term context. By default, OpenClaw routes all traffic through a single shared session key called main. If you run a local terminal script or a personal assistant just for yourself, this default behavior works perfectly. All your context stays in one continuous thread. But if you connect that exact same agent to a multi-user platform, the default setting breaks down. Every user talking to the bot writes to the exact same main history. The agent reads the prompt from Alice, generates an answer, and saves it. When Bob sends a message 10 seconds later, the agent reads the input from Bob alongside the previous input from Alice. This is where it gets interesting. You prevent this overlap using DM isolation settings. When you configure your platform integration, you change the session routing strategy from the default to per-channel peer. When you enable per-channel peer, OpenClaw stops routing traffic to the main session. Instead, it generates a unique session key dynamically for every incoming message. It does this by combining the platform channel identifier with the user identifier. Now, when Alice messages the bot in a specific channel, OpenClaw builds a session key unique to her and that channel. When Bob messages the bot, his user identifier generates a completely different session key. The system loads a clean, empty state for Bob. Their contexts are entirely isolated. If Alice talks to the bot in a completely different channel, she gets a fresh session there, too. These sessions do not hold state forever. OpenClaw handles session cleanup through two specific lifecycle events. The first is an idle reset. If a particular session receives no new messages for a configured duration, the system drops the context. The next time the user sends a message, they start with a blank slate. The second cleanup mechanism is a hard daily reset. Regardless of how active a conversation is, OpenClaw forcibly purges all session contexts at exactly 4 a.m. server time. This daily reset acts as an automated garbage collection step. It ensures that memory is freed up and that long-running conversations do not silently consume massive amounts of context tokens over weeks of use. When you deploy agents to group environments, never assume the platform handles user separation for you. Explicitly mapping your session keys to the correct user boundary is the only way to prevent accidental context leaks. That is all for this one. Thanks for listening and keep building.